Hello everyone, beginner violin. This is if you've never even touched the instrument. This is a quick overview and this should get you up and playing in just a few minutes. So this is the bow. It's what makes it different than pretty much any other instrument. This bow is horsehair. And the main thing, I tell everybody this, don't touch the horsehair. It's like if you put it under like a magnifying glass, it would look like barbed wire. But our finger oils slick that bob wire down. The bob wire is what makes the sound. It's the resonance created by the friction of the bobbed wire that makes the sound. So we don't want to touch it. So when you pick up a bow, the first thing to do is you take this hand here, I'll put it over here, and you put your thumb right here on this little rubbery spot. That's what it's for. And then these fingers kind of curl over, kind of like this. So you got your pinky down here, like that. You've got these fingers kind of wrapped around there. There's so many different types of bow holds. When I first started, I put my thumb down here, and my fingers wrapped around like that. That's one way to do it. But a lot of people will hold it up here on the stick itself. So look up different ways to do it, but basically the idea is you should be able to hold it tight enough to move it back and forth and to have full control of the bow. So it's got rosin on it. It's kind of like tree sap. You put some rosin on it, it should be fine. If you buy a brand new bow, you got to put rosin on it nice and heavily. That's kind of the dust you see coming off in there. And then of course you get the dust on here. I should clean it more. You should clean yours. So basically we got an E string, an A string, a D string, and a G string. And you'll notice that this thing right here is called the bridge, and it's curved, which means you can play one string at a time depending on the angle that you put your arm and your elbow and your shoulder. So you want to put this right here. This is called a shoulder rest. Not every violin has it, but most of them do. This is a shoulder rest, and here we have a chin rest. So you put it on your shoulder like this, and you put your chin right there like that, and you should be able to hold it up without using your hand. The thing that I wish somebody had told me a long time ago is you shouldn't have to try to hold the violin up with this hand. You should just mainly reach up here and be able to put your fingers down, because especially when you get into vibrato, like nice fun things, the tighter this arm is, the less you'll be able to move it around. So you want to be able to hold it up with your chin and your shoulder, and you want to make sure that's comfortable. And then you kind of imagine I'm standing here with my shoulders towards you. You don't want the violin pointed the same way as your shoulders. You want it out to your left. You want it, and then you want to kind of turn your head to kind of look down, kind of your nose towards the fingerboard. So once you got all that, then your arm should go up, and you want to be able to see the top of your hand. That's really important, because if you grip it and your hand is kind of like this, sort of just sideways, kind of like that, then you won't be able to move your wrist correctly. Your bow will kind of slide back and forth like this. But if you have it like this, and you kind of can see the top of your hand, if you ever pretend to play violin, everyone does this with their hand. They just kind of do this number like this. So you want to actually do that, because you can move your wrist this way. You can't really move it this way. So see the top of your hand, make sure that your bow grip is allowing you to look at the top of your hand, so you can bend it kind of T-Rex when you're playing from the start, and you pull it down like that. So. Go ahead and show kind of towards the bottom, where do you see how my wrist is kind of cocked like that? And when it comes up, it bends up like that. Your shoulder can be kind of relaxed, but your elbow should kind of be up a little bit. Don't tuck it in like this. You can't really move it, so kind of keep your elbow up a little bit. If you notice, the main motion is coming from my elbow to my wrist. E string. the whole arm moves a lot, but you shouldn't just kind of lock your elbow and do this. The elbow doesn't have to move that much. So you keep your elbow kind of stationary, sort of the same area. And the thing about violin, if you ever heard somebody squeak and squawk on a violin, it's because they're not putting enough pressure down on the strings with the bow, and that sounds like this. How kind of squeaky that is. Here it is pushed a little bit harder, kind of squeezing down with this hand, pushing down. How much louder it is. Now the thing of it is, if you do that slowly, if you're timid and you move the bow slowly, here's what it sounds like. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes that sound. So move the bow quickly, move it with authority and power. Perpetual motion. Keep that bow going. And so that's a lot of violin. When it's really bad sounding, usually it's because somebody's bowing poorly. And if you push down too hard, so you want to find a nice in-between where you're pushing down, you kind of ease it on while it's moving. You just flow with it like that. Sweet. So that's the bow. We'll get going. Get comfortable with holding the bow, with moving on the different strings. Just even playing two strings at one time. That's called a double stop. So that is the bow technique. So be working on that. Now let's move on to what we're supposed to do with this hand. So one thing, you want to make sure it's relaxed. You want to hold it up like this, but you're not really holding up the violin. Your hand is just kind of cradling here. So let me show you a G scale. There are no frets on a violin, and so a lot of people ask, how on earth are you supposed to know what to do? A lot of people suggest putting on pen striping. You can get at an automotive shop. The pen striping that they would use on a car is actually decent for the violin. It's very thin and small, and what you do is you find where the different notes are. And once you have that note in tune, you put a piece of tape there. Then another one here. You kind of skip this area in between. There's kind of a gap between the first and second finger. Then the third finger is actually really close. So the main three positions you'll use for your fingers is first finger right here. And then second finger, there's a little gap. You can see I'm not here. Think do, re, mi. Do, re, mi. It should sound like do, re, mi. And if you play those not like do, re, mi, they sound really bad. So here's an example of playing this first finger too low. That sounded dreadful. So make sure you give enough room. Eventually, over time, muscle memory, and you'll listen quickly to hear. So if you have a violin, you can play that along with me, just like this. And then when you got that down, then move to the next string. So we played that all on the G string. Now we're going to move our arm and our bow, and we're going to put our bow on the next string and play it open. Then we're going to do the same finger motion. Now we've got a scale. Listen. There we go. Now the second half of that scale goes like this. This is the first time we've done this. This is what we call a low second. So up here we had a gap between them. When we're playing down here, we want these guys to be buddies. They want to sit right next to each other. Now there's a gap between these two. Let's play the last three notes, which is on the E string. So we're just going to play that scale all together. This is going to be super important. That is the G scale. I'll also show you the A scale. It's got a little more of a stretch for the third finger, so watch this. We're going to start with our first finger on the G string, which makes it an A note. The second half is just like the first half of the G scale that was up here. Watch this. We'll play that again real quick. So those are the two first scales that I would learn. That's the G scale and the A scale. And once you've got that, then your fingers will start to get used to the different positions that they need to be in to play different songs, to play different notes. So when I'm playing, people are wondering, how on earth are you doing all that? I'm playing the different notes that are in these scales. I'm just putting them in different orders, you know. So if I'm playing the key of A, which is, just play them fast. You play them in different orders. But the core, the foundation of playing like that is this scale. From I'm playing the key of G. All of that is just. And of course, you can go. And that's usually what people play in bluegrass styles. But you can play classical music, you can play anything with those notes. So the great thing about violin, you can play Irish music, you can play country music, you can play bluegrass music, you can play worship music, you can play classical music, but they're all going to use the same notes. So work on your scales. So let's do another scale real quick. Let's see. A D scale would be. I know, that seems really scary to go up high. They call that third position. When you take, see where your third finger is? Imagine if I put my first finger there. Now I can play these notes up here. So whenever you see violin players going way up high like that, it just sounds different. It just has a kind of a fuller sound. You can play those same notes down here. Something about it just has a little bit more sparkle. It's just nice. And then if you play up there, you can play the Hobbit theme. It just feels good up there. So D scale is really important too. So you probably see me wiggling my fingers a little bit, and that kind of a cool sound. It's a little bit advanced. I do want to tell you that that's called a vibrato. Vibrato is basically loosening up your wrist and your arm and your shoulder, the shoulder right here. You can't play vibrato. This right here, up here is all tight. So you have to focus on relaxing all that, and you let your hand just, basically you do kind of like a miniature rocking chair. You want it to just, so I can go, basically just makes the note go flat, which is kind of like, here's in tune, here's flat. This is a little bit lower, but if you do it back and forth, eventually it's a very nice sound. So that's something I've worked really hard on for a long time. Violin and fiddle, it's the same instrument. It's one of the most difficult and most frustrating instruments to get it to sound the way you want to. People like Lindsey Sterling and Itzhak Perlman and Stuart Duncan, these are all people in their fields are some of the best fiddle violin players. And I bet you that they even cringe sometimes when they hear themselves play. There's always somebody better. There's always something more difficult to learn. But they started with the same notes with the bow, just. A lot of the little trills and things I'm doing is while playing one note, like the bow going down and playing kind of like a hammer-on. And sometimes instead of just going right to a note, I'll slide to it. There it is. I'm giving away all my secrets now. I'm not special anymore. You guys can do it too. Slide to those notes. There we go. Well, I want to hear you all start. Let's learn one song real quick together. Play along with me. Let's learn Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I'll walk you through it. So we're going to play an open A note, an open E note, then we're going to play the first finger on the E string. And that'll get us started. So play like this. Let's play that one more time. Second part goes like this. We're going to start on the third finger, and we're going to take off each finger, and we're going to walk all the way till it's open. So it'll go like this. Each note gets 2 bow strokes. I'll play that one more time. Watch. All together, it should sound like this. And if you can play that much, you're well on your way. And then we'll go to some more advanced stuff, and we'll start learning some other songs very soon. Have fun.